On this Friday night, a surprise twist in the rush to confirm a conservative U.S. Supreme Court justice. The Republican who's thrown a wrench in the plan for a quick confirmation, and the public confrontation just hours before his dramatic demand. Plus, women are reacting, but are men reflecting?
Also tonight, with the NAFTA deadline knocking at Canada's door, is this country ready to answer?
And when it feels like a bomb went off on your street. Harrowing stories from an Ottawa neighborhood a week after the tornadoes struck. Picking up the pieces, literally. This is The National.
Today, U.S. Senate Republicans were expected to swiftly proceed with getting Judge Brett Kavanaugh onto the Supreme Court. But then, an unexpected hitch from one of their own. Republican Senator Jeff Flake has criticized Donald Trump, and since he's not running again, he has a certain freedom to break from the pack. Lindsay Duncombe shows us what he did and the powerful scene that may explain why.
On Monday, I stood in front of your office with Annie Barkan. I told the story of my sexual assault. I told it because I read...
The Republican senator from Arizona, cornered.
What you are doing is allowing someone who actually violated a woman to sit in the Supreme Court.
Just before this, Jeff Flake had released a statement saying he would vote yes to advance Brett Kavanaugh's nomination.
That's what you're telling all of these women. That's what you're telling me right now. Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter, that what happened to me doesn't matter, and that you're going to let people who do these things into power. That's what you're telling me.
The confrontation went on for 4 minutes, broadcast live on television. Before the vote, each senator had a chance for closing arguments. Democrat Chris Coons is friends with Jeff Flake.
I worry sincerely about the message we are sending to assault survivors if we plow ahead with this nomination.
Shortly after he spoke, both men left the room. They met. Other Democrats joined them. Flake missed his turn to speak and returned just before the vote with a new plan.
I'll move it out of committee, but I will only be comfortable moving on the floor until the FBI has done more investigation than they have already.
So Flake voted to advance Kavanaugh's confirmation today, but his final vote is conditional on a week-long investigation into the allegations Christine Blasey Ford made against Brett Kavanaugh. Two other Republicans, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, joined Flake in threatening to withdraw their votes. With the majority uncertain, Republicans complied.
So I think what Jeff is trying to do is end this the best he possibly can, to accommodate some people on the other side and to, bring the committee together if possible. So this is democracy. Am I mad at Jeff? No. Am I in a different place? Yes.
At the Senate's request, Donald Trump ordered a supplemental FBI investigation into Kavanaugh's background to be limited in scope and last 1 week.
I just want it to work out well for the country. If that happens, I'm happy.
Have you thought at all about a replacement for Judge Kavanaugh?
Not even a little bit.
So why the sudden change of heart for Jeff Flake? He was asked if it was that moment in the elevator with protesters. He shook his head no. Rosie.
Okay, Lindsay, on the FBI investigation, what do we know about what that's going to look like?
Well, officials aren't giving us a whole lot of exact details. What we do know is that it needs to be finished in a week and that its goal is to look into credible current allegations. What isn't clear is if that means it's only going to look into the allegations brought forward by Christine Blasey Ford or if it will also look into other allegations. This isn't a criminal investigation. It is a background check, but the consequences of potentially lying to the FBI are serious. The other thing we know tonight, Rosie, is who is going to participate, including the man who was allegedly in the room with Brett Kavanaugh when the assault happened. His lawyers say that he will participate with law enforcement agencies so long as it remains confidential.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's the CBC's Lindsay Duncombe in Washington tonight. Lots of drama today and in the days to come. Let's get a better sense of what's at stake for the Republicans and what the delay could mean for Donald Trump's nominee. Keith Bogue joins us now from Washington. Keith, as we saw there in Lindsay's piece, this delay, it took everyone by surprise. We expected it to be heading towards a confirmation vote very quickly. So why isn't that really happening?
Well, from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's point of view, things became brutally simple the moment it seemed he would lose Jeff Flake's vote if he didn't agree to a delay. He simply couldn't afford to. If he lost Flake and one more vote, the nomination would go down. Plus, what Senator Flake did was give added force to the Democrats' argument that Kavanaugh was entitled to the benefit of the doubt only if every effort had been made to try to discover the truth. And of course, Republicans had repeatedly rejected the idea of reopening the FBI background check into Kavanaugh. But frankly, none of this would be happening now were it not for Christine Blasey Ford's compelling and credible testimony yesterday.
Okay, so there's going to be this delay. There's going to be this investigation of some kind, fairly narrow. What is the risk for the Republicans, though, as that's ongoing for the next week?
Well, the obvious risk is that the investigation will turn up evidence that supports the allegations of sexual assault. But there are other risks, too. The delay allows time for other parts of Kavanaugh's testimony to sink into the national consciousness. For instance, there are questions about his truthfulness and about whether he has the independence of mind necessary to be a Supreme Court judge. Listen to this clip from the hearing yesterday.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election, fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record, revenge on behalf of the Clintons, and millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups.
So that language goes beyond conservative ideology. It goes beyond partisanship. It's the tribal language that right-wing conspiracy theorists use. It's made some wonder whether Kavanaugh could ever be impartial when, for instance, making a judgment about, say, legislation from a government led by Democrats. So if Kavanaugh's opponents focus on those things next week, that could further imperil the razor-thin support he has in the Senate.
Okay, Keith Bogue, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we saw in Lindsay's story, there was lots of back and forth inside that room again today, and everyone had a strong reaction to yesterday's testimonies. Here's a little bit more of that.
In my opinion, this has been an intergalactic freak show.
Right now, the way this process is run, we're not running it like we the people. It's being run like we the ruling party.
I think the way Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh have been treated is a scandal, and it is cruel, reckless, and indecent.
This was someone who was aggressive and belligerent. I have never seen someone who wants to be elevated to the highest court in our country behave in that manner.
I think an FBI investigation is going to do nothing. It's not going to tell you any more than we know now. It's going to just keep it going and going and going till he breaks and he won't, until the next 5 come forward.
We should thoroughly investigate this before moving forward. To do any other thing is to diminish the truth, diminish the issue of sexual harassment in this country, and to again relegate ourselves to what I believe is a dark, dark element of our society.
Christine Blasey Ford welcomed the new investigation with a caveat. A thorough FBI investigation is critical to developing all the relevant facts, said her lawyer. But no artificial limits as to time or scope should be imposed on this investigation. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony seems to have prompted more women to come forward with their own stories of sexual assault, many choosing to share them with journalists. We'll hear what that's like in our moment.
I think they feel like they haven't been heard. And I think some of them felt like they shouldn't be heard, that nobody wanted to listen. And then this woman stepped forward, and it's given other women this permission to speak.
Also ahead, we go in depth on what the Blasey Ford moment means for women. Has much changed since Anita Hill?
Plus, tonight marks 1 week since tornadoes tore through parts of Ottawa and Gatineau. Nick Purdon takes us to meet those people who are picking up the pieces of their lives.
But first, plenty of intrigue today on the NAFTA file, including reports of fresh conversations and, dare we say, new hope for a breakthrough. And Katie Simpson joins us now from Ottawa. And what happened on this story today, Katie?
It has been a day of dramatic developments behind the scenes, and we are just starting to get a better picture of exactly what happened. The U.S. and Mexico had planned to release the details of a renegotiated NAFTA without Canada sometime today, but that has been postponed because of an urgent push happening right now by Canada and the U.S. to keep this as a trilateral pact. Members of Mexico's Senate are being told the preliminary details of a three-way deal could be ready in the next 48 hours. Sources tell CBC News there have been high-level conversations all day and all week between the U.S. and Canada to see if they can reach a deal by the U.S.-imposed deadline of October 1st. Canada even reached out to Mexico's incoming president yesterday as well to ask the Mexicans to intervene on Canada's behalf and to promise that this would remain a three-way deal. The president-elect is supporting Canada, insisting that this be a trilateral pact.
I'm sure there are lots of issues, but what seems to be the biggest hang-up?
The biggest one continues to be Chapter 19, what is known as the Independent Dispute Resolution System. The U.S. wants to get rid of it. The system is a personal pet peeve of the U.S. Trade Representative. But negotiators from Canada and the U.S. have blamed each other for being stubborn on this issue. So right now, that again is the biggest point of tension.
And you'll be standing by all weekend, I know. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
Now, keep in mind, these kinds of trade negotiations affect Canadians from coast to coast. Last December, Tom Murphy visited a lobster plant in Centreville, Nova Scotia, to ask people there how a renegotiated NAFTA might affect their business. Though there's still no deal, there have been other developments, especially Donald Trump's trade war with China. And as Tom found on a return visit, that has been quite the boon to the lobster business.
Don't tell this guy, but this Nova Scotia lobster could be on a dinner plate on the other side of the world by tomorrow. And he certainly won't be the only one.
It's been brisk, to say the least. The demand has been there.
And increasingly, that demand is from China. Thanks to that country's trade war with Trump, live Canadian lobsters are on the move, destined for Asia in volumes no one has seen before.
I feel great. I mean, we're in the business to sell lobsters. We're not here to babysit them. We want them going to international markets around the world whenever we can.
In July, mid-squabble, China hit the U.S. with a 25% tariff on its lobster, opening the door for cheaper Canadian lobsters to crawl in. Right away, Canadian lobster exports to China nearly doubled compared to a year earlier. Most of it leaves via Halifax's airport, which explains why these days the shippers can't load the jumbo jets fast enough.
The 8 flights a week that we're seeing now is just unfathomable. It's crazy.
But the sheer volume of lobster has some asking questions. With Nova Scotia inventory being drained, there's concern about a gray market. Could some shippers here be importing Maine lobster and then shipping them out mislabeled as Canadian lobster as a way for the U.S. to sidestep Chinese tariffs?
Definitely there seems to be some lobster coming in that way.
At industry meetings, there's a fear that could jeopardize a booming market.
We're watching it, and more importantly, some of our live shippers are worried that it could erode the Canadian market, so we're making sure that we understand it. And then we're trying to dig into the country of origin rules a little more, but as we know it now, live lobster is very clear. If it comes in as U.S., it has to be sold as U.S.
We would not ever consider doing that. We're shipping a Canadian product. We built our business on Canadian quality, especially out of Southwest Nova in particular, and we'll never dilute our brand accordingly.
A brand that has become so popular in Asia, shippers here are struggling to keep up with the demand. Tom Murphy, CBC News, Halifax.
We are live on The National and tracking Facebook's massive security breach. In a blog post, the company said it discovered Tuesday that hackers had gained access to nearly 50 million users' accounts by exploiting bugs in the system. If you were logged out of your account today, that's Facebook's doing, trying to lock those hackers out. The company does say it's fixed the problem, though, and no passwords or credit card information was compromised, but they still don't know who was behind the attack.
The last thing we want is an election. So we have to work together to make sure that New Brunswick
government has the stability that's needed.
Well, how is this for a political twist in New Brunswick? Now the leader of the People's Alliance is saying he's willing to support the Progressive Conservatives. His party won 3 seats in Monday's election, which is exactly what the PCs would need to form a majority. The Liberals, meanwhile, with their minority government, are still reaching out to the Greens and trying to convince someone to cross the floor in order to hold on to power. And the horrifying moment today when a tsunami crashed ashore and swept away homes on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. It was triggered by a powerful magnitude 7.5 earthquake. At this hour, there are reports of several people killed. One local report put the death toll at 30, but it's still not totally clear how bad the damage is. Well, it was muted reaction from Myanmar authorities today, a day after Ottawa MPs sent a strong message, voting unanimously to strip Aung San Suu Kyi of her honorary Canadian citizenship. It was a reaction to her failure to condemn her government's brutal repression of its Rohingya Muslim population. Our Nella Ayed is one of very few Western journalists in Myanmar and has more tonight from its capital, Yangon.
It was in this city on International Women's Day back in 2012 that former Foreign Minister John Baird hand-delivered a certificate for Aung San Suu Kyi's honorary Canadian citizenship. He called her a great champion of change. Well, now, 6 years later, there's a lot of change in the relationship between Myanmar and Canada. There's been no official reaction from Aung San Suu Kyi about yesterday's decision, and our request to a spokesman was acknowledged, but we were not given any comment. For Aung San Suu Kyi's many fans, and she is very much loved here, Parliament's decision is just the latest example of the international community being too harsh in its assessment of her handling and the military's handling of the Rohingya crisis. Now, it may not be the most consequential decision for the average Burmese, but it was, at least for a while on Friday, among the top headlines here. One independently owned television network, for example, reported the news, also pointing out that the military, which shares power with Aung San Suu Kyi's civilian part of the government, has already rejected the idea that it has mishandled the crisis in any way. This country has also rejected the UN's assessment that its top generals should be tried for genocide. Now, soon we'll bring you more stories from here about how Myanmar is thinking about and dealing with the fallout from the crisis 1 year later. Nalla Ayed, CBC News, Yangon, Myanmar.
Coming up on The National, we go in depth on our top story. 27 years after the Anita Hill hearing, we ask what has changed for women.
Plus, call it separation anxiety. The countdown to Brexit is on. But as Margaret Evans shows us, the road ahead far from crystal clear.
And a week ago tonight, tornadoes ripped through parts of Ottawa and Quebec. Tonight, Nick Purdon takes us to Arlington Woods to meet people whose lives have been permanently changed.
Would you say you've changed a little bit?
Yes, definitely. Because I was so close to something so dangerous that you could lose your life, you know? Because that wind, if it blew a tree like that, it could have taken me as well.
Guess what? It snowed. So we're going to tell you something you probably already know. Shoveling is exercise, but how much of a workout is it really? So to help us figure it out is Toronto Paramedic Services' Yvonne. Hi Yvonne, thank you so much for doing this. So explain what you're going to do here.
Well, before we get you shoveling, we're going to check your heart rate. We're going to check your blood pressure just to get a baseline so we know what we're dealing with. One finger in there, please. So that's telling us it's done. So right now, your heart rate is 68. That's fantastic. And your blood pressure is 106/66, which is also very fantastic, but that makes sense. So you're in good shape.
So you're going to start the clock. I'm going to shovel for 5 minutes, and then we'll hop back in and check it again.
Sounds perfect.
That's the hard stuff. Oh, yeah. Thank goodness.
So let's get you back into the ambulance.
Okay. Well, I definitely am breathing a lot heavier.
Absolutely. And you can see already your heart rate's almost twice what it was. It's at 112 when it was only 66 before.
Right. Definitely feels like some good cardio's happening.
Absolutely. And we've got a blood pressure now, 136 on 77. So that's also increased quite a bit. And that's just 5 minutes of shoveling. The driveway definitely usually takes at
a lot
least
longer. So how did I do?
I think you did amazing. Kept going, no brakes.
No
There was
brakes.
a lot of snow. And it's heavy snow right now.
It is heavy today.
We kind of jokingly in our field call it heart attack snow because it's heavy and people don't realize. They think it'll be a quick job, but it does put a lot more strain on people, and people do end up having chest pain, dizziness.
So before you even pick up a shovel, start with a few stretches to get your body warmed up. If you can, shovel sooner rather than later. Fresh snow weighs less. And of course, if you feel any pain, stop and take a break.
6 months from tomorrow, the UK formally leaves the European Union. But so far, negotiations on the terms of that departure are still deadlocked without any sort of final agreement. So, with Brexit moving full steam ahead, our Margaret Evans explains what that could look like as the deadline looms.
In just 6 months' time, Britain is scheduled to leave the European Union after more than 4 decades as a member. Brexit Day.
So you might expect that by now everything would be pretty much settled. The road ahead perfectly clear. After all, as the Prime Minister here is very fond of saying, Brexit means Brexit, doesn't it?
I've never said that this was going to be an easy process.
A future Prime Minister could always choose to alter the relationship between Britain and the European Union.
Rather than having a bow deal or a no deal, let's put that to the British public with the option of staying in the EU.
Remember cool Britannia back in the 1990s? A confident Britain projecting a vibrant image on the world stage? Yeah, this is not that. This is more like a country on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
There's even a gym here advertising well-earned relief from what feels like a mass neurosis.
It doesn't matter if you're in or out when it comes to Brexit. There's no doubt us Brits have simply had enough.
It's not hard to see why. 6 months to go, and no one can predict what Britain's separation from the European Union will look like. No one. First up, the Chequers Plan, named after Theresa May's country home and proposing a common rule book for trade with the EU to replace key tenets of the single European market.
Hello, Jean-Claude. Hello.
She might as well have called it the Book of Common Prayer. The European Union has already rejected it, and so too have hardline Brexiteers in May's own party. They call it a betrayal.
Speaking of which, remember this guy? Boris Johnson, the former Foreign Secretary. He resigned over Chequers, saying it will turn Britain into a colony of Brussels.
Under Chequers, you lose control of your laws. Your laws are made in Brussels, and they're imposed on the UK.
Boris is lurking in the wings, according to accepted wisdom, ready to launch a leadership challenge against May when the time is right.
Then there's the no-deal scenario, where things are so bad there is no agreement. Never mind hard Brexit, soft Brexit. This is falling off a cliff Brexit.
The government has even published contingency planning for potential food and medicine shortages when all those harmonized EU rules cease to exist. Not surprisingly, calls for a do-over are growing. Another people's vote.
And what of the opposition Labour Party? They should be rubbing their hands with glee over the prospect of a Conservative Prime Minister clinging so precariously to power. But they're proving themselves just as capable of devouring themselves from within over Brexit.
The rank and file are pushing for another vote, but leaders can't agree on what the question should be.
That's why it's not just the government here, but the entire political class on the ropes and in the firing line. Rule Britannia, indeed. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Still ahead on The National. After listening to testimonies from Christine Blasey Ford and Brett Kavanaugh, a lot of women woke up this morning determined to make their voices heard. And next, we go in depth and discuss what this moment means for the future of the Me Too movement, for women. But first, take a look at what some women who took to the streets in New York today had to say.
I wanted to do something besides get rained on and cry and scream.
I just felt because the effect could be for generations that I would come out today.
We deserve so much better than that, and I'll scream it from the rooftops.
This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
No, it's nothing like that. Fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid. Basically, it's a painkiller like morphine, but a lot of people are taking it recreationally.
The latest person to die is a 17-year-old.
Traffickers adding fentanyl to everything.
Fentanyl, that's the drug that contributed to his death.
It's being called a nationwide disaster.
This is enough to kill a person. So how exactly does it do that? A lot of how drugs affect people is how fast they get into the brain and how much gets in. Fentanyl's good at both. Your brain has things called opioid receptors, those normally taken chemicals your own brain makes to help you when you're, say, running a marathon. But fentanyl bypasses that system, floods the receptors, killing pain and easing anxiety. But fentanyl has side effects. For one, dopamine's released more easily. Dopamine's associated with reward, so it makes you feel really, really good. Drug users like that side effect, but other side effects can kill you quickly. Remember those opioid receptors? Well, you also have them in your brainstem. When those receptors get flooded, they tell the body to slow down its breathing. And because fentanyl is great at getting a lot of chemical into the brain really fast, those receptors can get overloaded easily. Too much chemical and the body turns off its natural breathing reflex. Breathing can stop within seconds. The person goes unconscious, and without help, they die.
There's a new drug on Canadian streets so deadly it's being compared to a chemical weapon. It's called carfentanil, a highly toxic man-made opioid that's 4,000 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than its chemical cousin, fentanyl. But unlike fentanyl, which is a legitimate painkiller, carfentanil isn't for use in humans. It's for tranquilizing animals, big ones like bears and elephants. You know the stuff in the darts? Carfentanil. Like other opioids, carfentanil can dangerously lower your heart rate and breathing, and it doesn't take much to do it. In powdered form, carfentanil can look a lot like table salt, but it's so strong that ingesting, injecting, or inhaling a single grain can be fatal. To put it into perspective, a single kilogram can kill 50 million people. That's everyone in Canada and then some. To make things worse, even inadvertent contact can cause an overdose. That means it's dangerous not only for drug users, but anyone who comes into contact with it. First responders, doctors, border control agents. That's why these Mounties put on hazmat suits when they intercepted a package in Vancouver. It's also why law enforcement in Ohio carry antidote sprays for use on themselves. So why is it popping up on streets now? Well, police say dealers are using it to cut other drugs like heroin and cocaine because it's cheap and easy to get. It's even turned up in these counterfeit Oxycontin pills seized in Ontario, so drug users don't even know what they're getting sometimes. Stopping the supply is gonna be a challenge. Experts say that the drug is entering North America from China, where it's unregulated, legally manufactured, and openly sold online. Are safe injection sites an answer? What about easier access to antidotes like naloxone? Tell us what you think in the comments.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. This is a circus.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace.
Today, many people are asking, given what happened yesterday, has anything changed for women? In the 27 years since Clarence Thomas, a Republican nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court, was accused of sexual harassment, then as now, women rose up in anger. And since then, we've seen things like 1 million women march in Washington. We've seen many powerful men being taken down by the Me Too movement. And yet, these hearings have cast some doubt on just how far women have come. Joining me tonight to talk about that, freelance writer and culture commentator Bee Kwame. She is in Toronto. And here in Ottawa with me, Julie Lalonde, women's advocate and educator. Good to see you both. So let me start with, might sound like a simple question. Maybe the answers will be harder. Bee, I'll start with you. How did you feel when you woke up this morning?
You know, I felt drained. I felt very exhausted. I felt very unprepared for what today was going to bring, you know, in continuation of what we saw yesterday. So I was just really tired and I just didn't know what was coming next.
How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I'm real tired and real angry, frankly. I think we need to acknowledge that there are a lot of women who are deeply, deeply upset by having to watch this wall-to-wall coverage. Women who have put themselves in Dr. Ford's shoes, who have been in those positions before. And I think that's where my anger comes from, is like, how many times do women have to tell their stories of trauma before something is going to change?
Okay, you both, we asked both of you to choose a moment that you saw yesterday that hit you or impacted you in some way. So I'll start with Bee's moment, I'll play it, and then I'll get you to explain why you chose it.
Apart from the assault itself, these past couple of weeks have been the hardest of my life. I've had to relive this trauma in front of the world. And I've seen my life picked apart by people on television, on Twitter, other social media, other media, and in this body who have never met me or spoken with me.
Okay, Bee, why did that resonate with you?
You know, that moment, it really resonated with me because to see somebody like Dr. Ford, who has the courage that she's had, come forward and still deal with this terrible, traumatic aftermath on top of the trauma of what she experienced. On one hand, it shows her courage, and that was a moment that I said, you know, this woman is a warrior to be able to do this and to have gone through what she's gone through. But on the other hand, I look at somebody like her who kind of has that social position of presenting as a white, cis, able-bodied woman, educated, who's very accomplished. And I think about, if she has been treated that way, what hope is there for any other woman who doesn't fit that medium to be able to share their story and be fine after it?
Okay, let me go to Julie's because it's very different. So I want you to tell me why you've chosen this one. Here, take a look.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap.
So Lindsey Graham sort of defending, I guess, Gord Kavanaugh. Julie, what struck you about that?
The nerve, frankly, the nerve to be that fired up and angry about someone who's being grilled at a job interview. It's a job interview. And not only does Brett Kavanaugh feel like a victim, somehow Lindsey Graham feels like he's also a victim. He's the one that's contributing to making it unsafe for survivors to come forward, and he has the audacity to claim that the people who want Brett Kavanaugh to answer these questions are somehow the ones who are torturing Dr. Ford and other victims. Him and people who think like him and act like him are the reasons why survivors don't come forward.
Okay, there was another moment today that got a lot of people talking, stopped them in their seats when they were watching TV, and I want to play that too. This is Jeff Flake getting stuck in an elevator with a real person who had some things to say to him. Take a look.
What are you doing, sir?
I was sexually assaulted and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter, that they should just stay quiet, because if they tell you what happened to them, you're going to ignore them. That's what happened to me, and that's what you're telling all women in America, that they don't matter. They should just keep it to themselves, because if they have told the truth, they're just going to help that man to power anyway.
Of course, Jeff Flake went on to be the person that allowed for this additional week of an investigation to happen. But when you watch that, what do you think this whole week and that has told us about where things stand when it comes to women being believed about assault and harassment? Bea, I'll start with you.
You know, part of it is not so much questioning the belief. What sticks out for me is in that moment, and I actually avoided watching that clip throughout the day, just because I knew kind of how raw that moment was going to be. So that was the first time I've actually seen it. But her saying, you don't care, that's more of the issue to me. We have hashtags believe survivors and all these different types of things. There are a lot of people who do believe survivors. They just don't care, because for them, the potential of the person who's being accused is of more value than the life of the person who has been victimized or has been abused. So the question of belief is one thing, but for the people who do believe and still don't care because they think, well, this man would be wonderful to be, on the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter what he's done, that's the real problem right there.
Julie, just sort of in reaction to that clip, but also what it tells us about these issues and where people are in their thinking around them.
To me, I've seen that clip before, and I still find it so upsetting to watch and to listen to. And to me, it's the desperation that I think it resonates with so many women and resonates with so many people following the story, is that we are so desperate to matter. And we're so desperate to be heard, and it doesn't matter in what format we do it, whether we're calm, composed, and prestigious like Dr. Ford, or we're desperately screaming at a man in an elevator. It doesn't matter what we do. Respectability politics doesn't matter, because inevitably we're not going to be heard, and we're not heard. And that's, to me, why I think that clip in particular has really resonated with so many people, is like you can just hear the pleading in her voice. And I think that's so many of us.
Do you feel, I'll end on this, do you feel like men, because this is ultimately also about men, do you feel like there are men out there, though, that are getting it now? That there are weeks like this that are become sort of a moment of education for men, and they're hearing it? B.
There was one man, I can't remember his name, but he corrected himself on Twitter because he tweeted something that went viral where he said, I hope everybody is sitting their daughters down in front of the TV to watch what's happening so that they can see what it means to be a really strong survivor. And so many people responded back saying, well, what about the people who should have their sons sitting down watching this to see what happens when you create a victim, and how to have conversations about not letting that continue? So just seeing that happen in real time and having conversations with men in my life, I definitely see that there are tides turning and there are some difficult conversations being had that are bringing about some more hope for me there.
Julie, on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by definition, I work to end violence against women, so by definition, I have to be optimistic. Otherwise, I wouldn't get up in the morning. And I do think that absolutely there are people, good men have been listening since the start. I think good men now have more kind of ammunition to bring to their kind of middle of the road friends, and just understand that for women, this is not just a news story. This hits close to home for every single woman I know. And good men out there, please understand that and reach out to the women and girls in your life this week and check in and ask them how they're doing.
Okay, that's a good spot to leave it. Thank you both very much. Smart conversation, Bea and Julie. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A week ago tonight, tornadoes dealt incredible damage to parts of Ontario and Quebec. Next on The National, our Nick Purdon takes us inside Arlington Woods, a community forever changed but not beaten by the storm.
What does the neighborhood mean to you?
You know, it's like it's a personal injury. This community has been hurt badly enough that everyone who lives here feels bad, and they feel bad for each other.
The Canadian podcast climbed the iTunes charts in several countries, in no small part because of the bizarre story it tells.
Imagine a hot laser dragged across your flesh for 30 minutes without anesthetic.
It looks at Vancouver's Sarah Edmondson and her strange time inside a self-help group called NXIVM that she says forced her to be physically branded.
It was worse than childbirth.
A secretive organization with a mysterious leader.
I'm very devilish, and I think I'm probably the worst coach in the world because I'm just a demon.
He's now been arrested in the U.S. along with a member of Canada's wealthy Bronfman family. Both deny any wrongdoing. But it was a chance meeting between former childhood friends Edmondson and journalist Josh Block that led to the podcast.
So you know Sarah Edmondson personally.
So what's it like investigating the life of someone you know? Josh Block is the host of Escaping NXIVM. We reached him in New York.
So Josh, this story is in many ways, I mean, it's just so wild. But I'm wondering what it was like for you to run into Sarah, someone you'd known as kids, you'd known for years, in fact, who tells you, yeah, for the last 12 years, I've been in something akin to a cult, and I've just gotten out because I have this weird brand I didn't want. What was your reaction?
I was really shocked. I mean, floored. I knew that Sarah was part of this group. I knew that it was a kind of bizarre self-help group. I had no idea that women were being branded inside the group, and just how complex the whole story was.
And her story has now been the subject of the podcast that you've done that's been tremendously successful. But I'm curious, as a journalist, normally when we know someone who is a part of a story, we recuse. We stand aside and go, look, there's a conflict. I can't necessarily do this story without really feeling emotionally impacted. Why did you decide to go ahead with it and tell it yourself?
I knew Sarah going back to daycare, and so we felt like I had access to something, to knowing her, understanding her, and trying to understand the story of how she got so drawn into this group that she ends up getting branded. So, part of it, I also think that there is a convention in the podcast world, and almost an expectation from listeners, that the host is a full person, is a character. We're situated in the story, and there is room for that. There's a history of people doing that kind of work in the podcast realm. So it felt like the right medium to tell the story.
What was it like for you to challenge her, as you do at the very end of the podcast, more aggressively than at earlier stages, and say, how could you have done this? How do you feel about the people you brought in?
Yeah, I think that feeling that, when I work on any story, you want to find the balance in the story. And that feeling was amplified in some ways. I recognize that listeners might think that, might perceive that I would have some kind of bias going into the story or softball it. On the other hand, it's really tough. I knew I had to ask these tough questions, and it is difficult, of course, if you know that it makes someone uncomfortable. But I felt even more responsibility in this case to make sure that we got the balance, to make sure that if listeners had any question about whether we were going to tell the other side of the story, that would be told.
How has she responded to the podcast?
She's, at moments, she didn't listen for a while, and just recently she listened to it, and she was texting me in real time as she listened to it, which was actually kind of stressful for me, because I knew that there were parts coming up that were difficult for her to hear. And she has acknowledged that it is difficult to hear. She also has been very grateful and has felt that by and large it is an accurate story and a fair depiction of her story.
What a story it is, and I guess we'll be following it in the courts as well. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Thank you so much.
It has been 1 week since 6 tornadoes varying in size and intensity ripped through the Ottawa-Gatineau region. People trapped in their cars, in their homes, and in their offices scrambled to protect themselves. 6 people were sent to hospital, hundreds of homes were damaged or destroyed, and tens of thousands of people lost power. Those storms ripped through in moments, but the cleanup could take months, even years. And even then, some hard-hit neighborhoods may never be the same. Nick Purdon traveled to Arlington Woods to see firsthand how people there are coping.
The first thing that hits you in Arlington Woods is how the Ottawa neighborhood is now a logging camp. Since the tornado touchdown, there's really no other way to describe it. Arlington Woods was a kind of forest in the city. Hundreds and hundreds of giant trees grew here. The trees are why most people love the place. Anne and Dave Bourgeot bought their house 3 years ago.
So you can get through here, I don't know.
Lucky to be alive, actually.
Very lucky. We had 25 pine trees on our property.
25 mature, 150-year-old pine trees gone in 10 seconds. Very violent.
So they say 265-kilometer winds. What was that like?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So we're just getting dinner ready, and all of a sudden it just felt like something was wrong, and everything started to shake, and there was a weird sound. That's when I grabbed Anne, and we ran into the back family room, and that's when all the windows blew out on us on the couch.
And then glass was just shooting at us.
It's like a horror film.
Not sure where to go or what to do. So to me, that was like we were both screaming.
Yeah.
Like children. So it was
scariest thing I've ever been through. And then we go outside and start seeing if we can help people, and everyone's like walking around like it's like a bomb went off, right? Everyone's in shock.
It's like a war zone, yeah.
Well, looking back, what kind of week has it been?
This is where, can I swear now?
Yes, please.
A shitty one.
Yeah, it's a shitty one.
Maybe the best way to see what kind of week it's been is on Anne's phone.
I don't know if you can see it.
This is what her house used to look like.
That'll be a good before and after pic.
You walk the neighborhood and it's hard to believe all of this happened in less than 15 seconds. After you. I meet Linda Cruz in front of her home at 13 Parkland Crescent.
So this is the main damaged room where the tree came in.
Holy.
And over at the other end is where the ensuite bathroom used to be.
When you look at that, I mean, what do you think?
And I can't think too far in advance or it becomes like, what the heck?
So the tree fell, hit the roof, and just crushed the whole house.
Yeah, and the tree is so heavy that it just kept sinking. It's just a mess. It's just a mess to be cleaned up. I have my amazing kids and my husband and friends. That's what always makes me emotional is when I think about the fabulous circle of friends and support that we have. So I get lots of hugs and that's good. And wine.
Linda tells me she still doesn't know if her house is a write-off. All she's been told is to pack anything she might need for at least 6 months. Most people from the neighborhood need some kind of help.
You okay?
Then there's Jim Leahy. Somehow his house was untouched, so he drives around all day with a trunk full of sandwiches and coffee.
See what we've got here?
Thank you.
Sorry to meet you like this, but nice meeting you anyway.
Why are you doing it? Why are you handing out food?
It's just what you do, that's all. Today I just thought I have to get out of the house. It's nice. It's something to do. At least it's productive. Can't sit in the house when this is going on.
What does the neighborhood mean to you?
You know, it's like it's a personal injury. This community has been hurt badly enough that everyone who lives here feels bad, and they feel bad for each other.
Since the storm, life in the neighborhood has moved outside. All day you see people walking the streets, staring and talking to one another.
There's a lot of folks walking with no expression. You know, they're traumatized.
And it's no wonder. Nothing here is like it was before. That includes the people. Meet Lucia Vega.
When you go through a tragedy like that, your emotions is all mixed up. But you can see the good thing within the terrifying moment, you know, because we saw in the evening was a lovely evening, and we all came out, and all the neighbors, we came together, and they realized that this is what is important in life, you know. It was a healthy tree.
Lucia tells me that since the storm, she's drawn to her backyard. She marvels at the power of the trees and the randomness of the destruction. So you have these giant trees falling.
And then look at this, perfect.
Made it through.
Made it through. This is life. When it gets you, it gets you. They don't ask for permission. It's your time.
Would you say you've changed a little bit?
Yes, definitely. And I think I'm going to live with more passion with life.
Really?
Yeah.
You've changed?
Yeah, I think I changed, yeah.
How?
Because, you know, because I was so close to something so dangerous that you could lose your life, you know, because that wind, if it blew a tree like that, it could have taken me as well. Yeah, no, I think I'm really, really happy. And I'm glad that no one is dead. This is the main thing. A life, you cannot bring it back, but things can be rebuilt.
Nick Purdon, CBC News, Ottawa.
And tornado victims on both sides of the Ontario-Quebec border are getting a lot of financial support as well. The Canadian Red Cross says it's raised more than $2.8 million to help with immediate needs like food and clothing. And the Ottawa Senators Foundation has raised more than $340,000 through a GoFundMe campaign and a matching contribution. That group says the money will go towards food and mental health. You can see more pictures from Nick's story and read more about the people involved on our Instagram page. Find us at CBC The National.
And now let's get you up to speed on a couple of other stories we are tracking tonight. There is an update on a potential strike by Canada Post workers. This weekend, top officials with Canada Post will be sitting down with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. The union says it's hoping to get past the deadlock in negotiations. Some of the key sticking points: wages and working conditions.
We'll be talking to different witnesses that come forward, possibly victims that come forward. This is just the beginning of this investigation.
Disturbing allegations tonight against a BC man who worked for years as a vice principal at a middle school. 38-year-old Michael Hare is accused of possessing and making available child pornography. Police say a search of his home uncovered electronics containing thousands of videos and images depicting child pornography and child abuse. Hare was suspended today from his job at the school, and he later resigned.
Just flip open the yellow cap.
Or the green cap.
Slide it out and hold it like this.
And a warning from Health Canada tonight about EpiPens. According to the manufacturer, they can get stuck when you're trying to remove them from their containers, those carrier tubes. And clearly that can be a big problem where a delay in treatment could be a life or death issue, right? So if you've got an EpiPen, the advice is to check it to make sure you can easily remove it from its case.
The Moment is next. Hear the story behind that incredible confrontation of Senator Jeff Flake from the two women themselves. But first, lighter note, a quick look at a special something we've got for you on Sunday. I got sent to Newfoundland, worst assignment of my life. I'm joking. For this hour, as 22 Minutes host Mark Critch, we took a trip back to where it all began for him and his earliest memories growing up on the Rock. I wondered, being in that house, sort of isolated, I wondered whether that helped you become the person you are in some way, with your imagination or with your...
Yeah, I guess there's only two ways to go. I would guess would be like some form of entertainer or serial killer. I think there's two, kind of career paths at that point.
Oscar 19, Jasper, Oscar 19. I don't know if you copied, but there's a large bear jam developing just past Moline Canyon. If you guys could go and take a look at that, that'd be great.
Wildlife Guardian 1, Oscar 16. Jasper is an amazing place to view wildlife. Actually, we are very lucky. We have a very high density of animals that comes to the side of the road because it's open and there's nice green vegetation there. In the spring and when the buffalo berries are ripe, there's definitely more wildlife jams that we attend.
He's traveling in that direction, so we just ask people not to stop like that. If you want to see it, feel free to pull over, take a quick photo and keep moving, but remain in your car, please. Okay, thanks.
People will stop, and quite often they forget that they're on the main highway, they need to pull over. So they will stop in the middle of the road, leave all doors open, and run toward the bear. So it's a highway, it might be like 90 kilometers per hour, so it's very dangerous.
It's right there, actually. You can see the branches moving. After a few photos, if you can keep moving, that will be awesome. Thanks. And please stay in your vehicle. Okay. We ask people to remain in their car at all time and not to chase the animal into the forest. Or so really remain in your car. That's the safest thing for you and for the animal as well. Because there's a lot of consequences to our action. Every interaction an animal has with people, they learn from it. And with time, they will learn that it is okay to approach people to look for food. And this is when it becomes more at risk for them to get into the campgrounds, the town sites. And after that, well, we are more at risk to get dangerous encounters. Also, we ask people not to feed animal, never to feed animal, because most of the time, well, an animal that gets fed will have to be destroyed because they start to associate people to food, and their behavior is going to change. They're going to be more aggressive, and it's
too risky for the safety of the visitors and the people living in the park.
So we are trying to give the same opportunity to everyone. So yeah, you had a very good look. So if you can keep moving, that would be awesome. Thank you. Appreciate. Yeah. Wildlife guardian job can be super fun or very frustrating because you see the same thing happening over and over again, and people doing that job, they care a lot about the animals. So there's times where you get people yelling at you and being pretty mad, and other times where just people thank you and are so grateful and they want to learn. So those moments where people are really genuinely interested and they want to learn more about the animals of the park and their learn about their behavior and what they can do to help us protect them. I mean, those moments are amazing, and that makes it all worth it.
As a homicide investigator, you're not very often delivering good news.
I have carried the scars of this case my whole life.
I will never forget. One of the hardest things I've had to do in 33 years on the job.
It's traumatic for anybody to come home to find a loved one is murdered.
We can't right the wrong. All we can do is find the truth. This is the most I've ever talked about it to anybody.
I will never, ever be the same.
Emotions ran high in Washington again today, and as senators debated the testimonies of Ford and Kavanaugh, protesters filled the halls outside, but none had a confrontation quite like this one in the elevator. The two women who said they...
I was sexually assaulted and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter.
It's not something I ever like to or want to share with people, but I thought it was important that he knows, and that he knows the effect of what he's doing.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter, that what happened to me doesn't matter.
I feel profoundly disappointed. I thought that he was someone that was willing to take a stand that was on the side of justice.
You are allowing someone who is unwilling to take responsibility for his own actions to sit in the higher court of the country.
Like I was powerless, and that I needed to get to the people who had power to change something.
You have power, but so many women are powerless.
They shouldn't just do what they're supposed to do. They should do what's right.
Do you think that he's telling the truth to the country?
I thought of him as someone that was able to kind of recognize the humanity across political lines, and what he's doing today is just saying, my party matters more than the stories that I'm hearing.
And so that moment, I mean, those two women, sexual assault survivors themselves confronting Senator Jeff Flake, like so many moments over the last 48 hours, it was powerful, it was poignant, it was memorable, and so striking because many journalists are now getting flooded with calls from women who want to tell their stories as well of sexual assault. And we actually asked two of them to tell us about that. Have a listen to this.
This woman invited me in and asked if I wanted a Diet Coke, which I did because it was hot. And then we sat down and she just opened up. I've never met this woman before in my life, and she told me this whole story about how she'd been sexually assaulted when she was 16.
I got a phone call, and it was an 84-year-old woman who just said she actually thought I was the crisis center because she wanted to report her assault. It's just bringing more awareness, and it's creating a sphere that allows people to be comfortable.
My hope is that this whole episode, however it turns out, will make men more woke about it, if you will.
We live in an era where people are wearing their headphones when they're walking on the street, listening to their music. Someone else is listening to their music. We all watch different TV shows often. Every once in a while, there's something that cuts through all of that, and this week was one of those moments where we were all sitting somewhere in front of a phone or a TV and sharing an experience. We may have different reactions to it, but sharing an experience all up and down North America, it was extraordinary.
It was, and we'll see how next week plays out with this FBI investigation over the course of the week, and what it finds and how it ends up, and whether that hopeful note we heard there continues, because that's the cynic in me that wonders whether it will. That's the National for Friday, September 28th. Good night.
Good night.